Hello friends, in this lesson we will learn how to blend colors using smudge tool and the mixer brush. Let's open this project file. Let's try and smudge some colors. Let's take the smudge tool. It is here. If you don't find this, it is under the blur tool by default. Now there is no shortcut by default. If you do a lot of painting, you can create a shortcut for yourself. The first thing I want to point out about this tool is that it uses Photoshop's brush engine. It means that we can go up here and select a brush preset. We can use any of these brush presets with the smudge tool. Let's use this hard round. Let's play with some of these tool settings. First one is this blend mode. You know very well about the blend modes. I'll keep it to normal. Now this strength, I'll set it to 50%, which is the default value. You know well about sample all layers. It will sample all the layers below the selected layer. We also have this option called finger painting. Now all that means is that we are going to be using our foreground color at the beginning of each stroke with this smudge tool. Let's increase the size of the brush, and at 50% strength, if I try to smudge an area, you can see it smudges a lot. I'll press Ctrl Z. The strength value is very high for this type of brush preset. Now this last button here is to enable the pressure sensitivity on our tablet. If I click it on and using a stylus on the tablet, try to smudge it with the light pressure, you can see that it smudges very lightly. So it depends upon the amount of pressure I use. This is with more pressure. I'll hit Ctrl Z a few times. Now I'll show you how to make a brush that will be really good to use with this particular tool. If I zoom in and try to blend, if I zoom in really close and try to blend these colors, you can see that they are not actually blending. It is just pushing these colors. I'll hit Ctrl Alt Z to undo. Let's right click and select a soft round brush. Let's go to brush dynamics and configure some settings here. Let's turn on this scattering and set it to 40%. I'll increase this count to 10. Let's also turn on this transfer. You can see up here that the opacity control is not available, which is usually turned on when we turn on the transfer, because we are not using the brush, we are using a smudge tool. But we can use this transfer option with this strength jitter. Let's select this to pen pressure. Let's increase the jitter a bit. Now using the stylus and the pressure applied, we can control the strength of our blending. This is the strength value. This can be controlled with the stylus. One more thing I want to discuss is that this sample all layers is used to sample this selected layer and all the layers below it. Right now we don't have any layers below it, but I will show you a way to blend the colors in a non-destructive way. If we simply use smudge tool, it will alter or destroy the pixels. I'll hit Ctrl Z, but if we make a new layer and click on sample all layers, now if we use the smudge tool, let me hide all the layers except this one. You can see that the smudge pixels are created on this layer, and since we are sampling all layers, it is affecting this layer as well. I'll turn them on again. So this is a non-destructive way to use this smudge tool. Now recently they have added a new tool to blend the colors easily. This tool is much more advanced way of blending colors. It is called the mixer brush. Let's create a new layer so that we can use this tool in a non-destructive way. Let's grab the mixer brush tool. It is located right under the normal brush tool. Here you can see mixer brush tool, shortcut is again B. For mixer brush there are a lot of controls up here. Now the mixer brush is going to simulate quite a few things. It will simulate the mixing of colors directly on the canvas or combining the colors on the brush itself. So we will be able to vary the different settings. See this reservoir kind of thing here. It is filled with black right now because our foreground color is black. If we paint with this mixer brush tool, it will simply paint black. Ctrl Z. Let's sample all layers. Since I want to blend this skin color, let's pick a color from the canvas itself. So I'll press Alt to pick a color. When I press Alt, my cursor changes to this crosshair. Now keep an eye on this reservoir color when I sample this area. It has picked up some colors. It actually samples these pixels around and samples few colors and not a single color. If we sample from here, you can see that it has picked quite a few colors. I'll again sample from here. Now these two buttons right here are really important. By default they are turned on. We can turn either of them off, but I recommend to keep them turned on. Let's talk about this first one. This brush, after each stroke, will reload this reservoir. If we turn it off, it will empty the reservoir. The second one will clean our brush after each stroke. Otherwise, our brush will have a lot of previous colors on it. These presets are the ways to basically load these settings to our brush. We have some options for a dry brush, for a moist brush, for a wet brush and for a very wet brush. Now this wet value determines how much paint is picked on the canvas, and this load value determines the amount of color loaded into this reservoir. This mix option is the ratio of canvas to reservoir paint. We are familiar with the flow. It is the rate at which the paint flows out of the brush. These options we have talked about in earlier lessons. This one is to enable the synthetic airbrush effect, and this one is to enable the pressure sensitivity on our tablet. Let's select the hard round brush. If I sample this area and start mixing, we will get these hard edges. I'll hit Ctrl Alt Z. Let's select the soft round brush, sample again and start blending. Now the edges are soft. You can also play with this wet value. The higher the wet value, the smoother will be the result. We should keep sampling the areas as we move on. If I want to blend here, I'll sample it again and then start blending. Go ahead and experiment with some of the settings and blend. Now like all other tools, this one also has some tool presets right here. It has got quite a lot of them. Let's grab this airbrush variable graining. I reduce the brush size. Let's enable this airbrush effect. Let's sample from here and start blending. So it has given us a different type of effect. Go ahead and play with some of these presets and see what kind of interesting effects you can create. That's all for this lesson, friends. See you in the next lesson.